Whew. Not quite sure what that little. Woo! She fought me there. This is a 6mm Allen. It doesn't look like it. It looks like it might be another like clean out of some sort. I don't know if you want. Maybe it's like an easy drain for. Well, it's actually full of gunk now. It is just chock full of gunk. It needs to be cleaned. So I guess I'll just add that to the things that need to be cleaned. Looking more closely at this piece here, this black piece. Looking closely at that. There's actually a gasket right there.
Your love for the people's greater needs. The world is obsessed with material things. It's time to throw away your selfish needs. Let's let your words agree with how your actions speak. I'm here to talk, not trying to preach. So come and take a walk. There's all the freedom you need. Go spread your love for the people's greater needs. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Don't let yourself get lost in all that greed. Oh no.
Okay, so we popped out these two seals here. There's a rubber one. We got this rubber seal here. It's all rubber. And then there's one that has a metal backing. I'm trying to get the focus. Yeah. There we go. It's got like a metal back to it, a little bit of groove on the top. So we're gonna put the new ones in. So you just gotta make sure you match the right ones here.
In my mind, oh, it's not hard to see why I was feeling down. You saw right through it all. Oh, I could not fake it, no matter how I tried. Ooh, you cured my aching heart when you came around. I saw a million signs. I must be over it by now. There's a reason why. Oh, I think I might be over my troubles. Yeah, they've been there for so long now. Ooh, 'cause suddenly I think of tomorrow. Yeah, since you came around. Ooh, I feel like the only one who found out the reason why. Oh, I was just lonely, but since you came around, all I see is tomorrow. get me calling. Oh, it's you and me. Ooh, yeah. 'Cause I cannot fake it. No matter how I feel. Yeah. 'Cause you heal my aching heart. When you come around. I saw a million signs. I must be over it by now. There's a reason why. Oh, I think I might be over my troubles. They've been there for so long now. It's over. 'Cause suddenly I think of tomorrow. Yeah, since you came around. Yeah, ooh, I feel like the only one who found out the reason why. Oh, I was just lonely. But since you came around, I could see. All I see is tomorrow.
Okay, so I just removed these two pieces here. This one went here, and this one went across like this. There's just a 13mm bolt undoes them both. I do see a small gasket in here to replace. It's another one of these little guys here. See if I can't focus so you can see. It's another. Yeah, it's another one of these little gasket guys here. I don't believe there's a wrong way this thing goes on. So you just gotta drop that in the hole. Take the old one, put it over here with the rest of the old pieces. I don't see anything on this side of the hole here. Looks pretty empty. I'm gonna take this opportunity to clean up behind here with a little brush. And this one actually blew really clear, so I'll probably go ahead and put this one right back on. Yeah, this one's blowing real clear. This one is not. I think that this was my problem the whole time. I mean, it's good I probably took all the gears apart, but this one's not blowing clear at all. Yeah, there's got to be a clog somewhere in this, because this should blow absolutely clear, and it's not. So I'm gonna spray some cleaner down this thing and get it back installed. But this is probably why I didn't get fluid coming back up into the pump, and it probably forced the fluid back into the boots. Haven't been able to figure out how to open this to get this main rod out. It looks like this piece comes off, but honestly, I have no idea how to get this last pipe off, because there is no. They look like they're threaded in, but there's no way to turn them. I almost feel like I have to break this piece to get it off. So I'm not entirely sure there. If you know, put it in the comments. But I have no idea. That seems to be the only thing holding this thing together. Because you can see there's ridges here. I hope you can see it. There's ridges here, like this screws onto this pipe portion. And that's how you get this rod out, is how it seems. There's nothing inside of the ends of this that you can take out like other rack and pinions. You know, there's no C-clip or retainer or anything. It's just these two pieces seem to come together on this pipe, piece of stainless steel pipe. But this part, as I said, is threaded. But to get this off, I mean, I probably need a big ass wrench, which I can probably find. But taking this off and not breaking it, there's no way. I don't see any way to pop this thing out. Yeah, and I'm sure this is high pressure, so this thing's probably screwed in. Not sure. So that's where we are right now. We've replaced all the seals. All that's left on the bench is a couple of gaskets. So I just realized there's another thing to change out. This bolt right here, it's a special bolt. It's kind of, you see, it's kind of been sanded down, like midway down, and has threads from the midway up. Well, it has a little special washer here that's on it. It's a bigger washer. There's two small ones and one big one. I just realized that the washer that's on it is the one that needs to be changed. So I'm changing that one now. It goes to this bolt here. So that's another thing we found that we can change. Still quite a bit of gaskets left over. We'll see. Okay, so we found a couple more things to replace here, and I'm gonna show you how to put this back in. It's not that hard. Put this up here. So the next thing is we have these two little pieces here. They go inside this as well. So what you want to do is pop them out from the from the inside. I'm just using a little pick. Match them up. I'll match them up. Pop this in there. Okay, y'all. So I'm trying to show you how to put this back in. Okay. It's really not that difficult. The one thing you got to remember is where you marked the top of it. You need that to go in the same angle as it was when you pulled it out. And the thing to remember about putting this back in is you want to make sure you have equal amount of rod on both sides of the ends. So I measured this at 2 1/4 inches. So I need 2 1/4 inches on both sides of this rack, and I need this top of this to aim towards this little pipeline here, okay? And which is. So that's the goal here, because if you put this in wrong, you gotta remember that if you put this in wrong, it's not gonna be lined up with the steering wheel. So if this little carve out, this is where the bolt comes in from the steering wheel. If that is, say, on the back side of this, and you got to turn this all the way around, your rack is going to be crooked. Your rack is going to be crooked. So this needs to be the same angle it was when you put it in. And because you know that your steering wheel was flush when you pulled your rack out, it needs to be flush going in. The tie rod ends and inner tie rods are the same length, same design, same everything. One is not longer than the other. So that means you need equal amount of rods sticking out of the rack and pinion. Okay, so which is, for this rack, it looks to be about 2 1/4 inches. So listen, the way you do this, I'm gonna pull it out. You just jiggle it. Okay, so generally these ridges are facing the bearings we pressed in, the new bearings. So these ridges are facing that. So this rod, this worm gear, I guess you can call it, or the worm gear is kind of like a pinion from the differential. So this pinion, worm gear, will slide in generally at this angle, and then what you do is you turn this back and forth, maybe an 1/8 or 1/4 turn, while you're turning this at the same go, and then this will gently find its way in and seat in place, which it just did. It just seated in place. Okay, you'll seat all the way down. Then you can put your gasket on the top. You can put your gasket on the top here. So that's how you put this back in. We still got to put the gaskets back in. I honestly probably should have left these up there and not even touched them, because the ones that came with the kit, these little freaking things stretched out really easily. So when you're putting this over the top here, it has to stretch over these and go into place, right? But then the next one has to stretch over those, and so on and so forth, till you get to this bottom ring. This, because the first one is going to fall right inside these holes as you go down. Okay, so these things stretched out super easy. So when it got in place, it was real flimsy. I didn't like the feel of it. I should have just left this alone. So if you're redoing this, unless you know you have to take these off, don't take them out, because there's no reason for it. These things are super hard plastic. So I'm gonna go try to go to the Autoport store, see if I can't find these and put some fresh ones on this pinion here. And then beyond that, so this piece here, there were 2 pieces that we can replace, completely optional in my opinion, but these 2 little things here, they slide right in the holes here. You gotta pop the old ones out and put the new ones in. I took a 9mm socket here, and I think this one was a 8mm socket here, and I just kind of tapped them in place so they stay in. But they may be a little bit loose, but the moment you connect it to this, it will firm up in there nice and create a tight seal, because there's nothing else holding these things in. It's completely clean, no O-rings whatsoever. So it showed you how to put that one in. Just the seal in here. There were 2 small little removable seals in the Allen wrench airbolts. There's like two Allens. There's an Allen here and an Allen on the other side. There's a little tiny stainless gasket that goes in there that can be replaced. And there's an O-ring that goes here. Seats in there. My original one looks pretty good because I might reutilize my original one because I did not have a leak from here. I think my leak was on the inside. I think my leak for this rack was this seal here because the fluid seems to stay right here. Looks like it's supposed to stay up top. It's not really. Some may leak down into here, but the vacuum sucking it back up should keep just a little bit of fluid in the boots, but not too much fluid. The way it looks like it's designed. So other than that, we've replaced the bushings. We replaced the Allen wrench seals on the back side. The other little Allen wrench one is right here. The bigger one is right here. We replaced the O-ring inside of this component. We replaced the bottom seal for the pinion. We replaced the upper seal here at the top of it. We replaced the 2 little seals on the inside of this. What else? Oh, and we're going to put new gaskets here. I just got to get them from the auto parts store on the pinion. And we replaced the gasket here. But, whoa, I think I might use my original gasket. The one that came in the pack is just slightly smaller. I mean, just ever so much smaller. And my original one looks completely fine. So I'm probably going to put my original one back in. So it fits perfectly. Yeah, my original one fits in there nice and snug. And so that's a lot of gaskets so far that we've replaced. That's everything we've replaced on this so far. Okay, y'all, so we're back. I went to a few different stores, could not find these exact ones, so I bought another seal kit. Like I said to you earlier, these things right here are terrible. They stretch out real easy when you're trying to put these damn things on. I think they're made out of Teflon. And it's really tough to not stretch them out because you're trying to get them down this pinion. So and if they're just slightly stretched out like mine were, and mine just slightly stuck out, when you try to put the top piece back on, it's gonna break them. That's what happened to mine. I was trying to get it back on and it just wouldn't work. So what I did was I just cleaned up where I cut them off, bent them a little bit, and put them back. And so it's one full ring, which is not uncommon because when you replace these O-rings and other rack and pinions, a lot of times it's actually a broken O-ring that you put in place here, in place of this new one. So it's not an uncommon practice to do it that way. And once this cover is back on, these aren't going anywhere. They're not going to go anywhere. This was not the cause of my leak at all. It won't be a cause of the leak in the future. It just helps with moving fluid around, so it shouldn't cause any big issues. But I got the old ones back in place. So if you're redoing this, don't take the old ones out. Don't even, unless they're previously damaged and you have to replace them. Don't worry about replacing those. Leave them be. Okay, so we're gonna try to put this sucker back together. Okay, I had to remember which one was passenger. This one's my passenger side because I had to replace this boot on the passenger, well, this tie rod on the passenger side. So what we're going to do is first we're going to put on this little slotted piece here that folds over it. Okay, you want the tabs facing that way because they're going to be the ones that pound down on the tie rod end. Okay, so I'm gonna decouple these. The trick here is to where's my wrench? It's to just barely loosen the nut on the tie rod end so that way we don't lose the place. I mean, truth be told, we're probably gonna have to put this thing through a serious alignment anyway. This should go, there's a little indentation here in the tie rod end, and that's where that goes. You can just use a zip tie here. Okay. Put the nut back on. It was just past the inch mark, so that's where I'm trying to get it at again. There we go. Just past the inch mark. Put our tie rod in back on it. Make sure this is facing up because it's going to go inside, right? It's gonna go inside the arm, so make sure it's facing up. Okay, we got one side done. Okay, now we're gonna work on the other side. Well, you don't need to see me do the other side, so we're gonna fast forward. I'm gonna go ahead and do this other side off camera, exactly how I just did it. You gotta take the tie rod in off, unfortunately. Connect the inner tie rod, put the boot on, put the outer tie rod back on. Make sure you measure the distance first, so you don't have to do a serious alignment when you're done here. And then put it back on to the right spec, and then you should be good to go. Okay, so we got our rack fully put back together. I'm gonna double check, make sure everything's tight before it goes back in. But we got our tie rods. We got our tie rods back in. Forgive the grease gun. We got fresh boots on. Got everything put back together, nice and clean. Got the upper seal and lower seals replaced. I didn't get it on camera, but I did grease the rod, the inner rod. So what I did was I pushed one side all the way out, and then I greased the inner rod behind the boot, the inner rod. I greased that, and then I worked that rod back and forth inside the rack to make sure we get grease across the pinion and everything, because you want smooth operation. Because the goal is that you don't get a bunch of this fluid to come back down. Because I think it was this inner lower seal that was broken, because as the fluid pushes through here and then back out through here, I think it was leaking through the bearings and through that lower seal down into the rack. So got it all put back together. I got the cap back on, this little wavy washer nut, got that back in place where I took it off at, and it's ready to get installed. Oh yeah, I forgot to say, new bearings, bushings, excuse me, installed. So it's clean, ready to roll. We're gonna see how this buddy works. Okay, so I just wanted to show you that the way I was doing it from the top. You can see that wooden dowel. I use a little wooden dowel to keep everything together, so I can kind of push it in. And once I got the bottom bolt in, I hammered out the top dowel. I'm gonna show you from underneath. Okay. Alright, so I hope you can see this. There's your rack and pinion right here. There's a thin secondary bracket in here. And so I have a rubber insulated washer right here on both sides of the top, and then that's it. And I use a wooden dowel. To hold all this together, so I can press this whole thing into the car bracket. And then once I got it pretty close, I hammered out the bottom wooden dowel. Put the bottom bolt in, and now I'm in the process of hammering out the top wooden dowel so I can put the top together. On this side, this is a lot bigger of a bracket. Hope you can see that okay. I had to use a rubber insulated washer on both sides of this. This one did have rubber insulated washers on it originally, but they were eaten up, they were gone. All that was left was the metal component. The rubber was completely gone. So I got fresh ones from SNG Barrett. I'll put the item number in the comments below, or in the description below, excuse me. So that's all that's here, is just the rubber insulated, and I already have this one in and tightened up. If you're doing this from home and you're by yourself, what I did was I started with the tie rods. I just loosely got the tie rods in place on both sides, so that way the rack was hanging. Then I worked on this one first because it was just a single one. It was easier to get in. There's a lot more space too, so this one wasn't as difficult to get in. This one's these two are a lot tighter.
a little more difficult, and but I got one bolt in. I haven't tightened it down yet. I'm about to press the rest of that wooden dowel out and push the rack up and get the second bolt in. So that's where I am so far. I just want to show you that. There were metal shims in the rack right here, but I'm electing just to go with the rubber insulated washers here. I think it'll give it a little bit more, little less movement in the car. So that's at least what I'm going for now. All right, see y'all back in a second. All right, so I got that tie rod in place. We got everything buttoned up. There's the bolt that holds this up. You see the two rubber grommets, not grommets, spacers, pretty much rubberized spacers. And I did the same thing here. You see the one I got, there's one here and there's one above it. Inside this like double bracket there, because there's a thin bracket, and then this is the car bracket. That's all in, and that tie rod's back in place. And then so the key here was you need to make sure that both tires are facing forward and lined up, right? Then you want to make sure your rack, your rebuilt rack and pinion, that the rods, oh, so tight down here. These rods are evenly spaced out, so the boots should be evenly compacted. You don't want one that's like way stretched out and one that's real compact, right? So if you get what I'm saying, you don't want like one that's like super compacted or really stretched out. That's how you know that the boots are, that the rack is properly lined up. You can also measure it too to make sure that the lengths of the, the tie rods are the same, so that way your rack is lined up. And then adjust your tie rod ends to get them in place to your straightened tires and your straightened rack. Now, one thing I did notice, let me get up top so I can show you. I did notice, now that I have it all buttoned back up. Let's see, zoom in here. There we go. So one thing I did notice, see, you'll see that everything's all tightened back in place, but the location of the pinion is now in a different spot from when I took it off. So like I showed you how I measured to make sure we had equal amounts of rod on both sides, and I've already done turning tests to make sure that the tires turn equal amounts on both sides. So I know that's right, but for whatever reason this pinion location is different. So what we're going to end up doing is to adjust for that, since we know that it's turning okay, right here on the, I'll show you through the windshield maybe. That bolt right there. Let me see. So your steering wheel, that bolt right there, we can loosen that bolt and readjust the location of the steering wheel. Come on, man. Stay in line. We can readjust the location of the steering wheel because that's its current position. So we want it lined up, which is really, this is only a quarter turn on the steering system, believe it or not. So we're not adjusting it way off. So we're going to adjust the steering wheel and take this thing out for a drive. So obviously when priming a power steering pump and rack, you're going to need a lot of fluid, and you got to keep turning the steering wheel to get the air bubbles out. So we're going to get ready to do that, but that's really all it takes to rebuild the rack and get it back in place. It's a pain in the ass, especially if you're doing it with one person, but you can do it. You can do it to make sure all your connections are clean down in there. You got to install the bottom. You got to install this bottom one first, because this little fork, this goes in between the fork, and that's what keeps it all from turning and ruining these other lines. So start the bottom one, start the top one, then retighten the bottom one, and then retighten the top one. Okay, because this is the fluid coming in, that's the fluid going out, and that's how you get the rack on. So I hope this video was helpful. Like and subscribe. See you on the next one.